Week 9 spurred this little thing called the trade deadline before Week 10, which there's a lot to report tonight. Let's just say that. There's a lot happening. Trade deadline just ended today as we're recording this at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. That means let's recap what we had for scores, and then let's jump in because there's a whole lot to talk about. First game, crazy, guys. Crazy because Miami is just really bad, and I didn't expect them to be that bad, but Baltimore beats them 28-6. Not much of a game there. One of the more exciting games, Tim, in your division, Chicago, Cincinnati. Crazy 47-42 victory where Chicago looked like they were down, and they just kept coming back. Poor Joe Burrow. I said that last week, y'all. I should be shot. Flacco. He played like the game of his life, you know? And then he still find a way to lose. Minnesota, this is another one in your division, bro. J.J. McCarthy's back, 27-24 over the Lions. It's one of those divisional games. Not much to say about that. I'd love to spend some time here, but we really want to get into this all the trades that are going on. So let's get through. Tim, I'm going to glaze over this one. Carolina 16, Green Bay 13. Chargers 27-20 over Tennessee. Atlanta, New England was a game. We've said that Atlanta is one of those teams that we just don't get, right, Josh? Somehow they make it a ball game with New England, who is absolutely on fire. Again, New England 24, Atlanta 23. San Francisco 34-24. They keep rolling. Caleb, as you said, we get another trash time rushing touchdown, 10-yard rushing touchdown from my guy Dart. Here's a shocker, y'all, for many people. I don't think it's a shocker for those of us that love football. Pittsburgh 27, Indianapolis 10. Sooner or later, and we love both these teams, you're bound to just blow one, and I don't know what to say. Indianapolis fans, don't freak out. Another great game, y'all, in terms of a nail-biter. I don't know how dynamic an 18-15 Denver over Houston game was, but that game was, in fact, down to the wire. Another game to the wire. Jacksonville beats Las Vegas 30-29. The Rams absolutely comfortably blew out, 34-10 over the New Orleans Saints. Another game that, I wish we had more time to just stop right here. Buffalo beats Kansas City at home, 28-21. We've seen this before, right? Where Buffalo wins in the regular season, only to lose in the postseason. And then Seattle rolling. We will stop here just for a minute because, Josh, I understand Seattle 38-14 over Washington. Was brutal for Washington for lots of reasons. They lost some key players. Can you just talk about the players that went down in this game and where they stand currently in Washington?
Yeah, obviously, if you watched the game, you saw Jaden Daniels leave the game in the second half. They were down by a lot. That's not for discussion. Just Jaden Daniels going to be out probably for the rest of the season. Dislocated his arm, if you saw. I don't think they mentioned any tendon damage as of yet, but of course, we assume there is with the way that it looked. They lost him. Marshawn Lattimore, torn ACL. He's out for the rest of the year. And their secondary was just not playing well at all in this game. 14 yards per reception, I believe. Ridiculous. Sam Darnold, I believe, was perfect in the first half, 200 some odd yards, 4 touchdowns, 13 for 13. So defensively, with or without Marshawn Lattimore, wasn't doing a great job, unfortunately. And then the offense, of course, gets a massive downgrade, as you said, with Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, it's a shame anytime you see that. And I believe, guys, similar area of the field, same field as where RG3 also went down against the Seahawks. Pretty creepy if you Google that whole thing, but there's a lot going on there. And finally, let's talk about the absolute anomaly that is the Arizona Cardinals, who are way better with this new quarterback over Kyler Murray. They beat the Dallas Cowboys 27-17. We're going to move on because all these games that I just mentioned allude to the fact that there was a ton going on in free agency, Josh. And fortunately, you are on top of these transactions. So let's start with the Dallas Cowboys, if you can, if you don't mind, if I'm not throwing you a wrench. Only because Jerry famously said, we got to trade. And Josh, tell our listeners, because I don't understand either. Jerry couldn't talk about it until the game was over, you told me?
I mean, they were going into Monday Night Football. You try to not have those distractions going into your game. So ultimately, it wasn't gonna change anything for them at that point in
Sure.
time. They need to focus on the game. But the trades you're mentioning, Logan Wilson, he essentially has gotten sat in this Golden defensive scheme. They switched from Lou Anamurumo to Golden from Notre Dame, and he's now starting 2 rookie linebackers, Demetrius Knight and Barrett Carter. So Logan Wilson stepped down, asked for a trade, and the Cowboys essentially trade the NFL equivalent of nothing for what could be one of their starting inside linebackers. So people will complain, well, you're talking about the upgrade that we got. We got it from another terrible defense. He hasn't been a part of that terrible defense this year. So they paid nothing. They got him. And then the focus would be trading the Jets for Quinnen Williams. Everyone knows the defensive tackle there. They traded a 2027 first-round pick. It's conditional because they have 2 first-round picks. So whichever one ends up being a higher pick will go to the Jets. So first-round pick in 2027, a 2026 second, and then Mozzie Smith, their first-round defensive tackle from a few years ago, hasn't been starting with Kenny Clark there, but obviously Quinnen Williams going there would stop him from playing at all. So big deals there for the Cowboys.
Let me go around the room a little bit, Tim. Caleb can really elaborate on this, but I'll say this. I was listening to, again, crazy week at work, but I ran out to grab lunch. I was listening to Rich Eisen talking about what a terrible deal getting a backup linebacker from the one of the worst defenses in the league was, only to find out later that we got better deal. But it looks like getting rid of Micah Parsons and all of the equity that we had in trades, and now bringing in these players, and it seems like it could kind of work out for us.
Yeah, I mean, you have to always look in any sport when you're giving up a big stud player. The financial aspect is a huge thing, and so now you free up whatever you were paying Micah. That gives you that financial flexibility to pour into wherever you think there's holes on your team. Now, whether you can patch it together and make it work and use that draft capital that you've acquired to come out better, yeah, I think that's one of those. Unfortunately, we live in a society where we want to judge it so quickly, like right at the time of all these trades. I think a lot of times in these big trades, like the Parsons trade, or we'll get to Sauce in a little bit, it takes a few years for us to really determine who the winner of the trade was.
So as a non-Cowboys fan, is Jerry crazy, or did Jerry make some moves that make our team better?
You're asking me? I think Jerry made some. I think Jerry made some moves that made his team better. Say what you want about Jerry Jones, but he does care about his team. He does want to win. He makes some crazy comments, but I'd rather an owner like that actually at least is passionate about his team.
Yeah,
agree or disagree with what he says, but at least he cares. As opposed to, there's a lot of owners out there that are just in this for the money, and they don't really care about what personnel's out there on the field, and they don't really even care about the results that happen. So I think he is trying to make his team better.
All right, Caleb, you're a Cowboys fan, so let's get some from you before we move down to another team.
Yeah, we talked about before the game on Monday, Jerry Jones alluded to a trade, and when the news broke that it was Logan Wilson, everyone's like, this guy's crazy. This doesn't really matter. People are saying he's not going to start. I think he will, and we've watched Kenneth Murray and Damone Clark and these guys not get the job done in the linebacker room. Overshown's coming back. Sanborn's injured. Shamar James has stepped up, the rookie. LaFalle has been switched to special teams in this unit. So he's going to start, I think. He's going to start alongside Murray and Overshown when he comes back. They're probably going to run 3 linebackers rotating in and out. And LaFalle is still going to be on special teams, but he will contribute. So 7th-round pick is free, like Josh was saying. It's a low risk. He's had 550 tackles in his career. He's not a slouch. Like, he's going to perform. He left the Bengals because they drafted 2 rookies. That new regime that came in after Lou left to the Colts, they drafted their guys, and that's what happens. The guys they draft start. That's who they want to start. So enough of him. The biggest one, obviously, is Quinnen Williams, which I'm very excited about. 2023, he was the 2nd in the league in QB pressure for the interior line behind Dexter Lawrence. 2024, he was 3rd in the league. So he's a top 5 pressure rate guy. I don't think the trade's terrible. I think Parsons, we got 2 firsts for him. We traded a 1st and a 2nd for him. Quinnen Williams is going to contribute immediately. Him and Clark, both Pro Bowlers on the line now, which Dallas has never had a D-line like this, in my lifetime at least. Obviously, they need to address their safety room, and obviously some edge rush help would be nice. But they're getting the job done with Fowler and Clowney and the rookie Ezraku. They're doing fine. So I think this is great for the Dallas going forward. Quentin Williams is not that old. He's in his mid to late 20s. Has the whole contract left in him, I think. He's at the prime of his career, in my opinion. People argue that he's falling off, but Dallas has never seen this before, so I'm excited as a Dallas fan. Obviously, we're loaded at linebacker now, in my opinion. Once it's healthy, Overshown's back. I think they did great, but I'm biased. I think Jerry Jones has done fine. Obviously, he talks a lot, like Tim was saying, but I think that the Cowboys are trending up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's worth focusing on the total sum of players they traded for. Jerry Jones has traded for a lot this offseason. Logan Wilson, of course. Kenneth Murray was a similar type of deal to Logan Wilson, inside linebacker, of course. They traded for Kyer Elam, the cornerback, Joe Milton as their backup quarterback, George Pickens for a mid-round pick, which has obviously worked out well with him being third in receiving yards right now. Kenny Clark, Quentin Williams. I mean, this has been a loaded trade session for them, and they haven't really paid for anyone outside of Quentin Williams. And so to get all those names for such a low price, I think you can't argue with that. But of course, they're 3-5-1, and
you can
that's
argue
all
with
we're going
that.
to look toward. But
Well, here's the truth. Jerry gets criticized for not moving enough. Jerry gets criticized for moving too much. So thus is the way of the Dallas Cowboys. Let's move down the road. You talk about Sauce Gardner, or let's talk about his trade and the two teams, since we're talking about Jet players.
yeah, Mozzie Smith was sent back to the Jets as well. But the Colts trade Adonai Mitchell to the Jets also. But Sauce Gardner being the focus of that deal. 2 first-round picks for a defensive back. So how do y'all feel about that, first of all? Because we haven't seen that.
Let's swing it to Tim again, because, Adonai.
I think that's a high price to pay, I would say, for a guy that, again, we've only seen him on a team that's been a losing team. He's a good player, Sauce Gardner, but he's also not been on a winning team. I have a hard time with that. If you're an impact player, you're making an impact affecting your entire team, and affecting your entire team, I should say. And I don't. I'm not sure it was worth 2 first-round picks. It's a big move. I think the Jets GM. I'm not going to say the Jets are doing anything this year, but the Jets might be building long term. They might actually, if they can be patient a little bit here, they got some good draft picks coming up here.
Well, Tim, one thing's for sure, he went to bed 1-7, and he woke up 7-2. So that's kind of a nice place. Yeah. Caleb,
go ahead.
I mean, I'm of the mindset that future first, especially not the next year, but the year after, is gold. You don't know what's going to come in that class. 27 firsts. I know Dallas just moved one, but 2 of them, the 26 and the 27, for a corner that's been injured. He's had some injuries. He's been kind of wishy-washy. When he's on, he's one of the best in the league, to be fair. I believe he's held receivers to under 20 yards a game this year when he's covered man. So great corner, but he's not in that caliber of Surtain, Revis, Sherman in his prime, like that level of corner that might be worth 2 firsts. I still think people are getting corners in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, and they're starting for their team. It just shows that the Colts are that much bought into Daniel Jones. They're not worried about the future for a high-end pick, especially quarterback. I don't know. I think the Jets won the trade, but I think if Sauce is healthy, it'll work out, especially if they're in the playoffs. I mean, they're going to need him. Their DB room right now is beat up. They're skimpy right now, so it really helps them this year. But long-term, losing a 27 first and a 26 first, I don't know. I don't think it's worth it.
I was saying to you off air that I think the real winner is that it's clear that their young coach, well, he's not young, but he's a first-time head coach, is going to be able to build this team in his image. So I think it shows the Jets potentially making that at least 2 or 3 year commitment, because now you talk about regime change, right? Mozzie Smith going over to a different regime. I think that this is ideal for Aaron Glenn in terms of him sticking around. So people that are thinking that he's gone, I scratched him off my list, at least in terms of them giving him a chance to turn this thing around. This team will at least be made in his image, I think, before. And they look at that list right now. Josh, you could tell us there's a ton of draft first and second picks the next couple of years for the Jets.
Yeah, and it seemed like every time you looked back at what that trade not speaking on Sauce Gardner, but Quinnen Williams, what that trade was, it almost felt like the compensation kept changing. So it came out, so there's a trade, essentially a first for Quinnen Williams. Okay, that's pretty good, pretty good value for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
Then you figured that the compensation was then at some point, the first was for 2027, then they got a second. Then we heard that there was Mozzie Smith involved. Then we heard that it was conditional first, that they got the better of the two, meaning that the Cowboys couldn't move either one of those. Like they couldn't just trade one. They would have to keep both to see how it would work out. It was just a lot. And I've never seen that type of, compensation keep adding on and on and on. So I think it speaks a little bit to the credit of Darren Mugie, the GM, first-year GM for the Jets. He spent his entire career with the Denver Broncos since 2012, basically going from an area scout assistant to an area scout to, directing the scouting department to becoming assistant GM and now a GM. It looks like he's making great moves for, obviously this roster they've inherited. But yeah, getting rid of big names like that, of course, the instant immediate impact, your team's going to be significantly worse. But as y'all mentioned and alluded to, they're investing in these guys, they're investing in their future, and they obviously have a lot of picks to go with that. But we can focus on some of the other names that were involved as well. Draymond Jones traded to the Baltimore Ravens. If you watch the Titans, he's a high impact player on defense. If you don't, maybe never heard of him. That's all right. But the Ravens get a good player for a cheap price. Joe Troyan Shoyinka. He was a first-round pick to the Buccaneers a few years ago. The Browns have had him. They traded him and a seventh-round pick, I believe, for a sixth. The Bears would be the ones getting him on defense. Jacoby Myers, how do y'all have any opinions on that, going from the Raiders to the Jaguars? He's been asking for a trade for a while, so how do y'all feel about that?
Yeah, I'll take it. Trevor Lawrence loves throwing the ball in the middle of the field. We saw him with Evan Ingram. He was his number one receiver there. Christian Kirk, when he was healthy, was his number one receiver there. And that's what they've been lacking with this Liam Cohen offense. They've kind of moved Brian Thomas to the outside. He's not comfortable. Parker Washington's been their best receiver the last few weeks, which is not ideal, with people like Diami Brown, who's a veteran. And I know they lost their tight end, Brenton Strange, so they're pretty banged up already. But getting Jacoby Myers, who's a reliable inside receiver, someone that can just blanket balls to and then just get open in the middle of the field, something safe and reliable, that's really what Trevor Lawrence has been lacking. If you've been watching the Jaguars, you've seen all the drops and all the miscommunications and everything. And Jacoby Myers is reliable, and he's going to be a slot machine, I think. And for PPR, he's going to be amazing for fantasy. I think he's going to. You should try to trade for him if your league still has the trade deadline active. I think it's great.
Yeah, Jacksonville, 4 of their top 5 wide receivers have been injured, right? And so sometimes you make these trades out of necessity. And so I think exactly what Caleb said. I think this is a good boost. Jacksonville wants to be able to compete with Indy in that division and make a run at the playoffs. And so you've got to make the moves to stay competitive. And so I think this is a very good move for them.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
I agree with
go
everything. I've been very critical of Lawrence in terms of how long before he actually starts. You draft a guy like they drafted him, and he has had a revolving door of wide receivers. To be fair, over the last couple of years, you got to start seeing that he. I don't know when the door starts shutting on how long this guy's him, but when you do trades like this, it shows that you're invested in him and you want to give him the benefit of the doubt. So I think it's a great pickup for them. I think they should only get better. I mean, they are, to be fair, the Colts seem to be running away with this division, but it's very early in the season, and Jacksonville needs to make moves like this if they want to stay competitive. So I actually love it.
Right. And they ended up trading a 4th and a 6th for Jacoby Myers. So, but another receiver that was traded, Rashid Shaheed from the New Orleans Saints to the Seattle Seahawks, rejoining Clint Kubiak, familiar with that offense. Of course, another piece in that receiving core with the rookie Torrey Horton. Cooper Kupp could be out for a little bit longer, but how do y'all feel about that acquisition?
I'll jump first. I love. I'm falling in love with this Seattle team. I just love what they're doing. Obviously, when they have a defensive-minded head coach and their offense is this good, that's scary. Because, Josh, as you have said already, this season defense wins championships, but they're already loaded. And the fact that they're going to have the depth that they need, it almost looks like Cooper Kupp could be the odd man out because this team is loaded. And that sounds ridiculous considering you get rid of 2 of your 1 and your 2. You send 1 to Pittsburgh and 1's been a free agent, just got picked up by the Raiders. But to look at what they've done with this defensive-minded coach's team, and let's say this, he took over for Pete Carroll, arguably a Hall of Fame type career as a head coach in college and the NFL. And this young guy, Mike McDonald, he's not missing a beat. So kudos. I think I'm really falling in love with this team, and this acquisition to me is great. What about you, Tim?
Yeah, this receiving core. I texted another buddy of mine today who's a big football fan. I said, where does this rank now as a receiving core with JSN, Shaheed, Horton? I mean, that's a solid top three. I think they could be top. Yeah, I mean, you probably still give the nod to Chase and Higgins in Cincinnati as maybe the top two, or the boys out in Dallas as maybe your top two receivers. But these guys are right there. They're not far behind. Yeah. JSN is having a phenomenal season, and Shaheed, oh my gosh, well, he could be a one on a lot of teams. This is a phenomenal acquisition. I echo every single thing Dave said. As a Packers fan, I can't stand Seattle because of what some brutal losses over the years. But man, as a football fan, I love what they're doing. They are building the team the right way. Yeah, exactly.
Caleb.
All right. Sam Darnold, everyone's falling in love with him now.
Took a while.
The primetime game with Washington, the commentators are acting like he's just now learned how to do this stuff. It was kind of funny listening to him. He's been this mechanical and this robotic in his throwing motion and all that his whole life. That's why he was supposed to be the first pick overall coming out of USC. But some fun stuff. He's averaging to be the same exact season he was last year, touchdown-wise and yards-wise, on 60 less attempts. So Sam Darnold is way more efficient. He's MVP candidate, in my opinion. He should be considered highly. And then this Shaheed trade, I think it's the best trade of offense so far that's happened. I mean, trade deadline's over, so not so far, but period. Shaheed is that guy, runs a 4-3. He can kind of take the top off the defense. He's going to be pulling safeties with him, leaving JSN wide open. I see people on the internet crying that this hurts JSN's fantasy stocks. Like, I don't think it does at all. Nope. It's going to force one-on-ones on the outside with JSN. We've seen it all year. That's what's bread and butter. He's averaging 100 yards a game plus doing that, and now he's no safety up top most plays. I think it's great. Sam Darnold, 35 touchdowns last year. He's on pace for that. He'll probably get over that. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, here's some numbers just since we're on the topic already, for Sam Darnold and Torrey Horton. This is from NFL Media. Sam Darnold's the only quarterback since 2000 to complete 100% of his passes, have 4 total touchdowns and 250 yards in a single half. So obviously, he has a full game's worth of stats and did it perfectly in the first half. First quarterback since 2000 to have those type of numbers. Obviously, specific numbers, but we talked about this the other week as well with like consecutive completions and how it always seemingly is just a tie. You know, they tie it and then they go and complete. Well, it happened again for Sam Darnold in this game. So he tied the Seattle Seahawks consecutive completions in a game. And then as far as Torrey Horton, he's the first Seahawks rookie with multiple receiving touchdowns since DK Metcalf in 2019. So this is the best rookie receiver they've had, or at least performance-wise. Obviously, we would assume JSN is the better receiver here than Torrey Horton, but having a fantastic rookie year so far from him. We mentioned Adonai Mitchell as another receiving trade. He was, a throw-in in the trade, but we can focus on him for just a moment. He was a second-round pick. He was rumored to be a first-round pick in that draft class, coming from the same college as Xavier Worthy. It just didn't work out, and we know the play to point to as to why that didn't work out. But do you have any opinions on that deal?
I am going to have to stick to my guns. I said that the Indianapolis wide receiver room were a bunch of clowns. So it's one less clown in the Volkswagen there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they have enough talent at wide receiver personally to be moving anybody because they're scraping now. I don't know. I don't think that's a huge, to me. I think, they were shorthanded to start with. I think it's a little ill-advised, but if it sweetened the pot, I don't think he's going to be a blockbuster player for the Jets, Tim. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts on the guy is, but meh.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, like Josh said, he was projected to be a first-round draft pick. But again, there's a lot of guys that were projected to be first-round draft picks that don't always work out exactly. It'll be interesting to see in this Jets offense where he fits because he goes from Daniel Jones, who, we were just calling Daniel Jones an MVP candidate a few weeks ago, right? To Justin Wilson / question mark or whatever the Jets have going on there. And so I think there's going to be a bit of an adjustment period. The Jets clearly are still a year or two away. And so, yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think I love Adonai Mitchell. I think he had some maturity problems coming into the league, and then obviously we saw him drop the ball. That's why he got sent to the shadow realm. A lot of people saying he's dead because he's on the Jets, but I think he's a good receiver. He's a high prospect. Yeah, I mean, I think he's good. I think this is more speaks to Alec Pierce. I know he doesn't have a touchdown this year, but he's on pace for like 1,100 yards this year. He's been their best receiver as far as getting first downs. He's averaging 21 yards a catch. He's a beast. They're content with the clown show that y'all are talking about, but Alec Pierce, I think he's great. The Colts love him. But Adonai Mitchell for the Jets, I think he immediately is competing for that number 2 spot. I think they have Alan Lazard still, and they traded for John Mechie as well this week. So it's wide open for him to get snaps. I think he didn't deserve to be moved over that one mistake. I think it was a little, that's just my opinion, I think a little rushed. But I love the trade for the Jets. You didn't get anything. You didn't pay for him. You got him for free in this trade. So sky's the limit.
What you got next for us, Josh?
Well, I just want to talk about him for just a quick second, just to, if people don't know who he is, because he hasn't really, been a highlight on your television screen. But we mentioned, high draft pick qualities. He's kind of been his own worst enemy as far as his gameplay goes. When he plays, when he tries, you can see the talent. It's visible. He has high-end talent, but he also has a lot of lows. Athletically, 4.34 speed, athletically across the board, high 90th percentile. He's a top 100 athlete all time, tested at the combine. At the wide receiver position, he's got everything you desire on paper. Of course, we have not seen that come to fruition, but to get a young 23-year-old receiver in this receiving core alongside Garrett Wilson, among the likes of Alan Lazard, who will likely be off the team, Tyler Johnson, who at this point is a journeyman, John Mechie, who's been traded around several times now. There is no clear number 2 option on this team, with Josh Reynolds going down as well, who already wasn't a very clear number 2 option. So getting another young player alongside Mason Taylor to hopefully develop, essentially for nothing, I think is at least worth it in this rebuilding phase. A few of the other names, we know about this the last couple of days. Jalen Phillips, but it did not happen, of course, on the trade deadline day. But he's been top 10 in getting to the quarterback. His pressure rate is top 10. He's 8th right now in the NFL. The sacks it's not been equivalent. I think he has 3 sacks on the season, but we have the argument every year for Brian Burns, and we see him getting the sacks. Now this year he's leading the league in sacks. The argument for Micah Parsons and how he leads the league in pressures, but he's not the sack leader. It's the same way for Jalen Phillips getting traded for a mid-round pick to the Eagles. How do y'all feel about the fit?
Hate it.
I hate it.
Well, yeah, not you personally, but him
okay.
on the football field.
Well, somehow I feel like the Philadelphia Eagles continue. Hats off to their GM. He's probably one of the best in the league as far as recycling positional needs. And I say that because it's like, hey, we need a running back. We got Barkley. Hey, we need a wide receiver. We got A.J. Brown. Like, how in the world do they keep doing this? Like, they literally get the cream of the crop. Philly, listen, I've been there. I enjoy visiting Philly. Not the greatest city in the world. Why? How do they keep getting all these people to move to Philadelphia? I will never know. Because we all know they live in Jersey anyway, right, Tim?
That is correct. That is very true.
What are your thoughts? Yeah, go ahead, Caleb.
Jalen Phillips coming into the draft when he was drafted was a high-end prospect, first-round pick before he blew out his knee at UCLA. Kind of fell a little bit to the Dolphins. He had some injuries in the Dolphins, some serious injuries, an ACL and an Achilles, I believe. But he's recovered from that, obviously. As Josh was saying, his pressure rate's top tier. He's back with Vic Fangio, who drafted him on the Dolphins. So similar system, similar everything. He's going to be immediately starting. The Eagles lost Azeez Ojulari to IR, I believe. He's injured, no longer playing. I don't know the extent of his injury, but he's out. So Jalen Phillips straight up starting for them. And I as a Dallas fan, it's terrible because their team just got much better. If he stays healthy, their defense is arguably the best in the NFC, in my opinion. They did some other moves as well, but this trade, it's rough. Rough for the NFC, at least.
Yeah. Tim, do you have any opinions?
Yeah, I agree. Everything you said, Caleb.
Okay.
I hate it as an NFC fan. I think all of us Cowboys and Packers fans should not be happy about this because the Eagles are a better team today than they were a few days ago, and they were already a pretty good team. And so, Dave, you're right, man. Somehow they just keep finding ways to plug their
Yeah.
weaknesses. It's crazy.
Right.
Let me say this before I get some mad texts. I love the city of Philadelphia. Y'all know I go there for fun. I enjoy going. I've taken other couples there. I love Philadelphia. As a Cowboys fan, you wouldn't think that. I love going to Philadelphia. So it has nothing to do with that. I'm sure it's a lovely place to live. But all right, Josh, keep going. I just didn't want to get
I don't
any
know.
mail.
No, I mean, they basically got him for no risk at all. He was a first-round pick, which is important for when your rookie contract ends, of course. The compensation there that they will receive will essentially be equal to what they traded him for, so it's very risk-free. Or he's their best defensive lineman, and he gets a high-end contract after this year, and they got him for a mid-round pick. So,
Or I don't wish anything.
It's a win-win.
I don't wish anything ill on anybody, but hypothetically, a guy who doesn't typically finish the season healthy, maybe he won't be healthy for Philly. That's the only hope that we have as a competitive team.
I'm not going to quote J.K. Dobbins on this, but he's a guy that has the same injuries.
Yeah.
ACL tear and an Achilles tear, and he's basically, gone out and said several times, well, I'm not injury prone when there's nothing I could do to prevent these injuries. And so in that same regard, he had concussion problems, Jalen Phillips that is, in college, and he had 2 freak injuries. Otherwise, he's been healthy. So once again, pretty risk-free, high reward for the Eagles there. Another name to mention that they got from the Jets being busy, of course, was Michael Carter. Michael Carter II, not the running back for the Cardinals that randomly got benched, but Michael Carter, the nickel corner who's been injured, they got him, and they basically got him very cheaply because he's already being paid as a high-end nickel corner there. So they plug and play a guy in for a struggling defense over the likes of Adoree Jackson, Keely Ringo. Michael Carter will probably be playing there wherever they need it, likely, because he's better than those guys. There was a ton of trades, but ultimately, a lot of them involved, the one trade involved 2 teams swapping those guys like Mozzie, A.D. Mitchell. Another name is Trevor Penning being traded from the New Orleans Saints to the L.A. Chargers. We know that Rashawn Slater started the season out, was not going to play. Joe Alt now filling in at the opposite tackle position is now out for the rest of the year with a high ankle sprain. He had to get surgery, very major. He's not returning. So they get Trevor Penning, former first-round pick. Has not worked out for the Saints. He's kind of been moved around the offensive line, but for an offensive line needing help, they trade essentially nothing once again because of how that works out for them. For a guy that can hopefully fill in at that spot. So, any opinions? Any other names worth mentioning in y'all's opinion? Nothing at all.
I think we covered majority of it.
Yeah, we covered them. Yeah.
I think the
important
tackle position for the Chargers right now is just cursed. I think feel like every week they're losing someone on their line.
Yep.
This trade was definitely needed for them to keep Herbert upright, so I like it. And they announced that their rookie running back, Marion Hampton, will be back after week 12. So he'll be back this year. So for the playoffs, for real life playoffs, and for fantasy playoffs. So it's good to hear.
Yeah. I have one more thing about Trevor Penning, if you don't know who he is. Of course, offensive lineman in the first round. That doesn't mean you know who he is, but he has not been starting. Assuming he'll start here, he's 6'7", 325. He has tackle arm length. He runs a 4.89. He's the number 1 athlete from his draft class, and he's top 12 athletically as an offensive lineman. So if it's somebody that has to move around, he's going to be able to do that. So look forward to him at least playing some this year for them.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Josh. Let me ask you guys before we move on, because I think this is a question that I get an awful lot in terms of a few of these teams. But what does this say, guys, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who ultimately did not make a late-minute trade for A.J. Brown? That was speculation. The Patriots were also allegedly going for him. They did not bring in another restaurant-quality receiver, so they're going to make it go with their 500 tight ends and Metcalf, apparently. Is that good or bad, Tim?
I don't know. I kept waiting. That's the team I had an eye on all day long, honestly, because I really did think they were going to bring in, whether it was A.J. Brown or just another top receiver. I really thought, I think Rodgers has kind of alluded to the fact that, hey, it would be nice to have a solid number 2. They keep running this 3 tight end set out there. I don't know. They're coming off a big win, and I just hope their GM wasn't blinded by, okay, they did have a good win over the Colts, and that is, that was impressive. But I don't know. I'm not quite sure. If I'm a Pittsburgh fan today, I'm a little disappointed, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Come on, MVS. They got MVS.
MVS.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I like MVS. I think that I like Calvin Austin a lot. I think he's a good number 2. He's been getting a lot of conversions, a lot of first downs for them. He's been kind of the go-to guy in some weird situations. So I like that. Aaron Rodgers kind of picks a guy that he likes to go to. Surprisingly, it's not Metcalf in those situations. But Calvin Austin, when he's healthy this year, he's emerged as that number 2 option. And then Roman Wilson, he's probably in the doghouse because of that fumble he had where he was trying to hurdle a guy and kind of, not good. But Calvin Austin, I think, is a solid number 2. I think I was looking for them to get someone like Jacoby Myers, someone that could be in the middle of the field, be reliable, which that's what they need. But they have 3 tight ends, like we're saying. We'll just see what Arthur Smith can conjure up in the cauldron of whatever they're doing.
Yeah, I'm just surprised there's some teams, the Broncos obviously winning that division by a game feel like they probably are good. So are the Chargers. Obviously the Colts. I think the Colts upgraded with Sauce. I think he's a great player. Their defense is already good. I think if they can put him on to lock down some of these guys they're going to be playing against, they're great. I think the Bengals are delusional. We had this conversation offline. Like Joe Burrow has no reason to come back this year at all. At 3-6, I know it's only 2 games. He's not coming back right away, and I don't see them turning this thing around. And they did nothing except lose, a little depth at linebacker for a guy they didn't even want. I don't know. Obviously the Dolphins and Jets are having a fire sale. I'm surprised Waddle didn't go somewhere like Pittsburgh or New England or somewhere. And I'm surprised the Bills honestly didn't do something because we all know there's some holes on that team despite their would-be Hall of Fame young quarterback. So I don't know. Well, let's talk about some things that are happening. Josh, thanks again. It's over. And most of us in fantasy are now in a place where I think we have a week in ours, but most fantasy teams also align.
We're weird.
Yeah, we're a little weird. Okay, so let's talk about this. Thursday night football. Las Vegas goes to Denver. Denver's favored by 9.5. Anybody crazy enough to take Las Vegas?
No.
No lone wolves. Okay, guys.
Not this week.
Not this time.
I mean, the number 1 receiver now is Trey Tucker. I know Pat Surtain's still going to be out, but let me backtrack. Brock Bowers is number 1 receiver. Trey Tucker is their number 1 wide receiver on paper. So they have a big hole now in their offense. If Genty can't get it going with that terrible O-line that they have, it's real easy just to put 2 guys on Brock and hope that works. So they're pretty predictable.
Yeah, the Atlanta Falcons, we've already said they are a team that we just can't put our finger on. Josh, you famously said we just don't really know what they are. But they are 5-point underdogs to the Colts. Anyone crazy enough to take Atlanta? Nobody feeling that pain?
No, Colts are going to bounce back. Yeah, Colts are going to bounce back, yeah.
This one, guys, I'm gonna pick the underdog because Chicago's at home favored by 3.5 against the Giants. I don't like the Giants. I don't even love the Giants. But I have a heart for Dart.
Fair enough.
And I think Chicago's been playing and winning games that they probably shouldn't be. So just for the sake of, this makes no sense because I hate the Giants. I mean, they're my arch rival. I'm going with the Giants to upset Chicago at home. Caleb?
Okay. I'm going to say not the Giants. I go Bears. The guy who I'm going to say why is Kyle Monangai, the rookie. We just watched him last week, 31 touches, 198 yards in his first start in the NFL against the Bengals, who were at the time the worst rush defense in the league. And I think they still are after 198 yards. But the Giants are a close second with 5.6 yards a carry allowed. So if Kyle Monangai starts again, he might do the same thing again. They're going to run the clock. They're going to do what they have to do. Caleb Williams looked good. I know he was playing the Bengals. It was a shootout. The rookie stepped up, Monangai and Loveland. Loveland won the game on the seam route, broke the tackle, 50 yards to the house. So I like the culture that they're building. If you watch the post-game speech that Ben Johnson did, you might have felt that a little bit because it was pretty
typical
hype, you could say. Yeah, but Kyle Monangai is going to be the reason they win this game. I don't like the Giants either, so I think that this is I go Bears, whatever.
Tim, you shook your head silently like this when I said.
No, I'm going Bears as well. 283 yards on the ground last week. That's wild. 283 yards. think about that for a second. And my notes is exactly what Caleb said. This team they're playing right now, the Giants, are not much better. So I think we're going to see a repeat of last week. Colston Loveland, 6 catches, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns. Who's stopping him? I don't know. The Giants, we thought the Giants defense was just going to be so tight. They've given up 30 points in 3 straight games. So, I mean, they've got players on their defense, but for some reason it's not working. I'm going Chicago.
Josh, help me out. Am I the lone wolf? I'm just going with the fact that, Chicago's been hot and they're not that good. So I'm playing the odds.
That doesn't add up.
No, I know.
What if they are good? What if they are good?
They're not.
You're saying
the Giants aren't good
come
either.
down to earth one time.
Yeah, I'm saying this is just one of those games. If anything else, it's a trap game for a young Chicago team that doesn't know how to win yet.
Yeah. Well,
winning is something you learn, and Dallas has never learned that, apparently. So,
I think I'm going to take the Bears in this game.
Sure.
They're number 1 in takeaways, going against a rookie quarterback who has, slowly been losing weapons. Obviously, their run game is dependent upon Jackson Dart, as we saw without Cam Scatabo. He's their leading rusher. As Tim said, Chicago Bears second in rushing yards in the NFL with 145 a game. They're 4th in total yards offensively with 390 a game. As you said, the Bears offense has been hot. Maybe they're a little bit flatter. I think this might be more of a defensive game. You're going to have both quarterbacks running around. But I think ultimately you choose the team that takes or leads the league in takeaways against a rookie quarterback who has not really been an excellent passer, despite how his successes so far.
I agree with all of you. I'm just going with my gut that it's time for the gods of football to strike this team down. All right, Buffalo and Miami, no brainer here. Buffalo's 9.5-point favorites. I don't know if there's a universe that trap is big enough for the Buffalo Bills to lose this game this week. Now, here's an interesting one. Baltimore 3.5-point favorites on the road to Minnesota. How many of you JJ haters are taking Baltimore?
That's well put, but I'll take it.
I'm taking Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore 100%.
I'm taking Baltimore too. For the record.
Yeah.
Here's a crazy stat. I don't know if you guys read this.
I just called you all JJ.
I don't remember where I read this. JJ, 65-4 record since high school. 65 wins, 4 losses since high school. High school, college, and pro. He's only lost 4 games in his life. Isn't that a wild stat?
But here's my pushback.
Yeah.
Like, if you play high school and you're him, like most NFL players, you probably are a man-child, okay? 2, he played for Michigan with Jim Harbaugh.
I know. I just think it's a crazy stat.
It is a crazy stat, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But the odds are stacked in his favor.
And I think he's about to have loss number 5 this week.
Yeah, I would agree. Keep moving, or do you have a point, Josh?
I was going to say, just because Tim brought it up, I mean, Trevor Lawrence was very similar coming into the league. He had, the national championship loss, I think, to LSU, a game where he lost to Jerry Jones' grandson, I think, in high school championship. He lost like 3 or 4 games in his life, and they were mostly championships or the game prior to the championship.
Fields was right
Didn't
there
help him in the NFL.
Yeah. No, it did not.
No, it translated poorly later.
That Trevor Lawrence in college was like a fever dream. It was weird.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
The COVID season, this is a rant. Me and Josh remember this. I rember Trevor Lawrence got ruled out with COVID, and he was on the sideline for the game.
Yeah, at the Notre Dame.
He wasn't allowed to play, but he was there.
Do you see him right here? Okay.
It was funny. It was a weird time.
That might be one of his losses, too, even though he didn't play.
Yeah. Right, might have been, yeah.
That's a shame to do a guy like that. All right, guys, the battle of the bad. Cleveland is visiting the Jets. The Jets are favored by 1.5.
That's going to change.
Yeah, that's going to change.
It's Myles Garrett.
Right. And I said, yep.
All right.
Cleveland.
Everyone's taking Cleveland?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we already saw him against a rookie tackle.
Yeah.
We get him against another rookie tackle.
It's not fun for
Maybe
them.
another 5-sack game, yeah.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe this is a little more interesting for you then. And I understand there's some injuries on one side of this, but New England, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is favored by 2.5 at home. Anyone catching the ball for them?
Yeah.
Somebody. Egbuka.
Is he healthy?
Kate Otten. I'm going to pick the Patriots because the defense has not allowed a rusher to have more than 50 yards. So I think Rachaad White's going to be their biggest receiver in this game because they're just going to dump it off to him. Rachaad White's going to have a big game. But if Bucky Irving's back coming off a broken foot, which I'm worried they haven't announced that he's playing yet or practicing, so he probably won't be. Tomorrow they'll say he's good. But
he shouldn't be.
Their team is just really shallow, a lot of injuries. Godwin's still, we don't know about. Mike Evans is out, like we know. They're on their fourth string receiver, who happens to be a rookie, who happens to be Rookie of the Year candidate, who's been playing very good in Igbuka. Cade Otton's been playing well, but that defense that the Patriots had were just too good. If they have to lock down Igbuka only, and they're already stopping the run, I mean, who's going to score for the Buccaneers? I mean, it's just, and Drake May's been red hot. He's been one of the best quarterbacks in the league, third statistically, so I'm going to go Patriots.
Tim?
So I agree with everything Caleb said, but I actually am going to go Bucks, and here's why. The thing, Drake May has been phenomenal. The thing that was a little bit of a red flag for me last week was getting sacked 6 times, and obviously that's not Drake May's fault in and of itself. I mean, part of it is, but part of it that line. You look at Tampa Bay, their defensive front. They've got some players there, right? Hassan Reddick. They've got some beasts that can be coming for May, and I am a little concerned. I agree with everything that that Caleb said, but I am I'm gonna go. Yeah, I think I'm going with the Bucks on this one. Bucks at home.
Yeah. Well, that matters.
I don't know that the Bucks are the better team. Let me say that. I don't know that the Bucks are the better team, but my gut is telling me Bucks on this.
Josh?
Yeah, I think you started off by mentioning, who are they going to be throwing to? Obviously, I don't think that's affected them in any game this year outside of just that Lions game. They filled in with Tez Johnson, Emeka Ibuka as a first-year player, of course, stepping in as a full-time player and producing at a very high level. Maybe we get Chris Godwin back. I haven't looked. But Baker Mayfield's been able to get it done regardless of who has been playing. And that's not to discredit those guys. It's just, of course, those aren't the guys you had going into the season. The New England Patriots are second in time of possession, despite the rushing flaws they've had. Their drives have been obviously long to have that time. Mm-hmm. But across the board, they are pretty similar teams when you look at it. The Patriots only scoring about 1.5 to 2 points more than the Buccaneers offensively, and defensively they're both in the top half. But the question is, of course, like Caleb said, they haven't allowed a 50-yard rusher, the Patriots defense that is. Are they playing against Bucky Irving? They play against Rachaad White. That's, of course, important. So they're going to have to focus on that receiving game for the Buccaneers. You mentioned the gods of football have to sort this out. The New England Patriots are leading their division 7-2. Tampa Bay Buccaneers moved up in their division, even though they're on bye, at 6-2. So how do we handle this? I don't know. But I don't think it's a big problem for Baker Mayfield. I'm going to go with Tim and pick the Buccaneers.
Here's the irony.
I think it's a great game, though. I do think it's a great game. I think it winds up being one of the best games.
These ties, here's the irony. Because of the tie, the Packers are currently still number 1 in their division because they have one less loss. Because of the tie, Dallas is still number 2 in their division because they have one less loss. So it's helped both of them not have a loss now in terms of a position. So it is definitely something when you talk about these wins and losses. So, all right, let's talk about the Carolina Panthers, 5.5-point favorites at home against New Orleans. I believe we're all going Carolina. Any surprises here?
No, I mean, we've watched Alvin Kamara collapse. His yards per carry have been atrocious. I don't know what's happened, if it's just he went over the hill. He's looked terrible. Devin Neal might get a crack at starting this week, rookie running back from SMU. But, there's nothing exciting on them. They got rid of Shaheed. I don't know.
Kamara hasn't rushed for 40 yards since the third week of the season. Isn't that crazy? 40 yards. That's not
terrible.
a huge number.
Sounds like Saquon for a moment there.
Wow, right.
Yeah. All right, let's keep moving then. This one's an odd one to me. Houston, 1.5-point favorites against Jacksonville. I'm going Jags. I just think Jags are a better team. I think Houston's all over the place this year, and a lot like the Falcons. We don't, they have the talent, they have the personnel. I know they've had some injuries, and this and that, but I can't put my finger on Houston. I can't figure out if they're going forward or backward.
Yeah.
They couldn't even score a touchdown against a Denver team that had no Pat Sartain. Like, come on. Yeah, what is happening with them? They are a very weird team to try to figure out. I agree with you. I'm going Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville's trending up, actually.
Caleb?
Yeah, correction. Devin Neal, he was Jayhawk. Sorry, the colors got me wrong. Not SMU. Anyway, I'm going to go Jacksonville as well. There's a chance that Stroud could be out in this game. He's concussed. I don't know what they're doing offensively, like we were talking about a second ago. It's just inconsistent, not good. Jacksonville's defense is very good, in my opinion. I know they lost Tyson Campbell, but their front seven's really good. They're going to pressure Davis Mills if he's starting. A lot of turnovers. Etienne has been running great, even though he hasn't scored the past few weeks, I think. Jacoby Myers there. I think that their team's just better overall, and they're contending. They're ready to win. They're going to compete. I mean, it's a divisional game, so Jacksonville.
All agreed?
Yeah, I want to say Jacksonville. I think the one time I picked Houston, they actually scored maybe once. They didn't do well.
Yeah, that can happen.
Their defense is still only allowing 15 points per game. They're the number one defense in that category, or that statistic. They're number one. But of course, the discussion would be for C.J. Stroud and how he's still in concussion protocol at this point in time. Y'all mentioned how Davis Mills is probably going to be the starter. It's been weird. Their receiving cores, when they've had Nico Collins and Christian Kirk out, the rookies and Xavier Hutchinson, the three Iowa State guys, they came together and they played extremely well in those games. And you saw production. You saw the best games from C.J. Stroud as well in those games. And so you add Nico Collins back, you add Christian Kirk back, and the receiving core and those guys that had success, the younger guys, suddenly just erases. And so I think they're still trying to figure out what they're doing despite all of the talent that they have in their receiving core. And I don't think it's just going to suddenly change against the Jaguars this week, especially with Davis Mills.
Yeah. All right, this game I'm not going to spend any time on because I think Seattle at home, 7.5-point favorites over Arizona. Almost any team right now, if Seattle's at home with a 7.5-point favorite, you should take them, I think. So I think Seattle rolls. Any lone wolves here?
No, I think it might be close. They often are close. And one thing to mention is Ernest Jones, the Mike linebacker for Seattle, is out with a knee injury, and they shifted their whole linebacker room around. So there might be something weird there. I don't think they lose over it, but
yeah,
I don't know. I think it'll be close. It's divisional. Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison look great with Jacoby Brissett. Could be close.
Why are we watching a Monday Night Football broadcast and tell me if I'm losing my mind, where Troy is just blown away that Jacoby can play this good at his age? Like, isn't the kid like barely 30? Like
he's the same class as Dak Prescott.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, did you hear him last night? Like, getting around at his age,
Right.
it's like he's not Aaron Rodgers, bro. Like, what are you talking about? Troy, those concussions are starting to mess this dude up. I don't know. I don't know. I thought I was crazy, man. Okay. So let's move down the road. Another in their division, Rams on the road, favored by 3.5 in San Fran. Tim, this one, again, we joke about the gods of football. I hate explaining this, but, it's almost like Murphy's Law. Like it's how a team like Arizona can go in and beat Dallas when they're favored by whatever. It's just that's how things line up so that it works out. This one's definitely one of those games, but I'm going Rams.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how San Francisco just continues to win. CMC, I know, but 164 yards for Christian last week against the Giants. Obviously, a lot tougher task here against this Rams team. I think this Rams team is one of the best teams in football, so I'll go Rams.
Josh?
No, I totally agree. Right now, they're a top 10 offense. They're second best defense. They've only allowed 16 points per game defensively. Sacks, they're third in the NFL with 27, and about median in interceptions. But you look at Matthew Stafford and what he's done this season. He had 4 touchdowns in Week 9, giving him 9 over a 2-game stretch, his last 2 games. I think they had a bye thrown there, but his last 2 games that he played, he had 9 touchdowns. Then you look historically at the Rams and their quarterbacks. And in his first 8 games for the Rams, going back a little bit, Matthew Stafford has 20 touchdowns this season. Then you look at Matthew Stafford when they won the Super Bowl, 22. Then you look at Kurt Warner, 24. That's the top three for touchdowns in a first half of a season. And two of those seasons, as I said, they won the Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford right there, once again, on that trajectory to be at least involved for the Lombardi. But once again, he's having a season that's pretty similar to his Super Bowl run there.
Okay. Did you already give us yours?
No, I think I'm going to go Rams. They made a trade this trade cycle. They got Roger McCreary, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, from the nickel corner from the Titans. He's going to be starting for them. Their defense is already top tier, and they only got better. And their offense, like y'all are saying, is one of the best in the league. I don't think that the 49ers, their team's very banged up defensively. They have a lot of rookies rotating in and out, a lot of new first-time players in the solid system rotating in and out. Fred Warner's out. I think that Sean McVay is going to dumb it down and just Kyron Williams, 30 carries, just run it down their throat. I think that's what's going to have to happen. Play keep away from McCaffrey. He has not been a very explosive runner this year, but like Tim was saying, 160-plus yards in a game is absurd. He's getting 35 carries. Like, it's crazy. I'm worried for his health at this point. But, yeah, I think these games are literally a coin flip between these two coaches being in the same division and just being how good they are. But I'm going to go Rams with their better team. Sorry.
Speaking of better teams, any chance Washington with an 8.5 point favored Detroit Lions visiting can win this football game? Again, I know the gods of football can rear its ugly head, but no. Let's not waste any time.
Not with the way the Lions played last week. I think they're going to come back. Yeah.
It's going to be ugly. It should be ugly. Okay, here's an interesting one. Two interesting ones to close us out. Sunday Night Football. Yeah. Pittsburgh Steelers, LA Chargers. Pittsburgh's not favored. They're underdogs. 3.5 Chargers. I'm still processing.
Interesting.
This. Yeah. Because I feel like the Chargers should have been rolling by now. They got the quarterback, they got the coach, they have a good squad. I think a guy like Harbaugh with the talent is kind of, to me, a lot like, Peyton and Nix, they should be rolling, but they're not. So it's a coin toss. I have not tossed that coin yet.
I have.
Yeah. Who do you got?
I'm going to go Chargers. Well, I will say I think it's going to be close. Mike Tomlin is one of those few coaches in the league, there's probably 5 of them, that can slow a game down to how they want to play, control the game. There's great coaches. But I think that the offense that the Chargers has, even though they have a backup running back 3 or 4 now, but with the emergence of Aronde Gadsden, Quentin Johnson being as explosive as he is, Ladd McConkey, as well as Keenan Allen, I think there's not enough people on the Steelers' defensive back room to stop that. I think that it's going to be a hard-fought game for the Steelers to stay in this game. I know that the Chargers' offensive line's banged up. They just got a new guy on the line. The Steelers played great last week against the Colts, but I don't think they can replicate that against this air attack that Herbert has. I think there's way too many weapons for them to cover, and we've seen them, like in prime time with Joe Flacco, get exposed in their secondary, and I don't think Kyle Duggar can help that defense as much as they did last week. I think he's a great player, but there's obvious holes in that secondary, in my opinion.
Who was it, Josh?
Yeah. Sure. Just because I'm going to talk, kind of off the same topic that Caleb brought up. Justin Herbert right now is second in the NFL in passing yards. Secondary for the Steelers, as you mentioned, is allowing the most passing yards per game. Currently number 1 in time of possession, the Chargers offense, despite the running back injuries they've had. Kamani Vidal not really doing anything last week on the ground. Still number 1 in the NFL there. Number 1 in the NFL in third down efficiency. And of course, 400 yards a game offensively puts them at second in yards per game in total. So I think the focus, as Caleb mentioned, would be spreading out the football. You have plenty of talented receivers. The established Aronde Gadsden in a favorable matchup for him. I just don't think the defense for the Steelers will be able to keep up with Herbert having to pass as much as he can to all those options, because they're already going to have to without the run game being established there. So high passing total, high passing volume for the Chargers, I think, beats the Steelers in this game.
Yeah, I'll go opposite you guys, just for something different. Well, just for a little. I do think it'll be a close game. I could be swayed either way. I don't think this is a slam dunk for either is the
Yeah.
team. This isn't Washington, Detroit, right? I think, yeah. So just a slight red flag for me. Herbert has thrown 8 interceptions. They're playing a team with, arguably, I know T.J. Watt's not his old self, but he's a really good player that just wreaks havoc on quarterbacks and on lines. And so I am slightly concerned about that for Herbert. I do love what Aaron Rodgers has been doing at 41 years old.
Yeah.
He had nine different targets last week, and so they're slightly like unpredictable and weird. And sometimes that just confuses teams just enough to be like, you see a team like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a more predictable team, but like somebody like Seattle, they're going to JSN a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Like I can guarantee you they're going to do that. Pittsburgh, it's like I don't even know what their game plan is this week, and somehow it might work. The big all year long, the big concern for Pittsburgh is their defense. So I don't know how they hold up against, like you said, Josh, Justin Herbert, second in the league in passing. So I'm gonna go Pittsburgh though.
Okay. I'm on the fence. I'll have it done before we go, but yeah.
Okay.
All right, last game. Tim, you're going to like this. I'm going to hand it to you after I give you mine. Philadelphia, Green Bay. I've really labored over this because I don't want to be a hater. Yeah. And I already hate the Philadelphia Eagles, so I don't want to be. Mm-hmm. But I started thinking about this. Green Bay's at home. They're perfect at home. This place has been a fortress for them, and it's supposed to be a little cold. No team's better in the cold, I think, in the history of this sport than the Lambeau Field chilly November weather, where your guys are awesome. That's one. You got home field advantage. I think that's a big deal. 2, we've said this before, but I think that the passing attack that you guys have, especially with Matthew Golden Immersion as a deep threat, we know he's a speedster, but lately he's been syncing up with Love, and I think that exploits this Philly secondary. So I like their chances exploiting that. And then 3rd, there's my 3 reasons. I think the Packers defense can help neutralize Philly's run that has not been great all year, but it's been starting to show signs of life. And I do think that Micah Parsons helps in the regard of because he's played the Eagles a bunch. So I think the combination of your balanced defense against the run, this young wide receiver quarterback duo, and that home field advantage means that 2.5 point favor Green Bay Packers gets the win. Am I convincing enough?
That's great. I feel like I need to be convinced because I don't know. That's great. Those were good arguments. So here's a fun little. I like these weird little. I've told you that Aaron Rodgers or the number 27 thing with the Packers this year. Here's the other funny thing. So the last time the Packers won the Super Bowl, they lost a week 9 game, 16-13, which is what they just did, and they lost their top tight end in that game, Jermichael Finley, for the season, just like the Packers just did Tucker Kraft. Big loss with Tucker Kraft. Obviously, their offense has run through him. Golden got banged up a little bit. Christian Watson got banged up. So they are banged up. Also, special teams is definitely a concern for the Packers. I forget the percentage. I had it written down. I don't have it now. But it is just they're ranked one of the lowest teams as far as return yards. But I will say this, the Packers, right or wrong, have kind of played down to their opponents and played to their opponents, i.e. last week, Carolina, they lost a game to Cleveland earlier this year. Those are their 2 losses, right? Yeah. But then they played great against Pittsburgh. They played great against Detroit to open up the season. So I do think it's a close game. But I am an NFL fan more than I am a homer. So I've got to go. I'm going Philly here only so this way I could be happy. Either way, I could say I made the right pick, or I won't be happy by making the right pick. But I do think I think Philly pulls this off. I hate saying it, but I think they do.
Caleb?
I'm going to go Green Bay. I think that Green Bay is figuring it out. I know they just lost one of their best offensive players. We're going to see a lot of John Fitzpatrick, the 6'7" blocking tight end. But that is his strength. He's known to be the dirty work blocker. I think he's going to be on the field. Might be more on the field more than Musgrave because he is more of a receiving threat, even though Musgrave came in last week, had 3 catches, caught all 3 of his targets. So I don't know. I think that the Packers, we talked about it last week a little bit, they don't have that rock-solid receiver. Romeo Doubs been their best receiver other than Tucker Kraft this year, but they have so many weapons. And I think that uncertainty is what's going to throw off this secondary that the Eagles have with their new player. They just got Michael Carter. I think that Josh Jacobs is going to have a lot of carries this game. I think they're going to have to. It's going to be cold. They're just going to run the clock out. I do not want the Eagles to win. It's hard to stop the Eagles offensively with so many weapons that they have. But I think that y'all's defense, with Quay Walker, with Edgerrin Cooper, and with McKinney and all these guys that make impact plays every game, I think that they have the better. It sounds crazy. I think the Packers have the better defense right now. I think personnel-wise, the Eagles might have that edge with the acquisition of Jalen Phillips and Michael Carter. But I think playing at home matters. They just lost their tight end. They just lost. They're going to be angry. They're going to be well coached up and be ready to play. And I think the Eagles coming off the bye, they could get caught slipping a little bit in the cold at night in Lambeau.
Josh?
Go Pack.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go with the Eagles. If you look at the history of this matchup, the Green Bay Packers versus Philadelphia Eagles, with Jalen Hurts, the Eagles have won all three of those games, 40-33, 34-29, and then 22-10, I believe, in the playoffs this last season. So there's 3 straight wins for Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. They're coming off the bye, as Caleb mentioned, so maybe we get the likelihood of A.J. Brown playing in this matchup. Their offense is relatively healthy. Saquon Barkley, we know, was injured 2 weeks ago, minor injury. He's going to be coming back healthy. He's averaging about the same as Josh Jacobs on the ground. Jacobs being better in the red zone, scoring more, about 6 more rushing touchdowns, I believe. But I think these are pretty similar teams. As Caleb mentioned, the Packers' defense is a better defense at this point in time, but the personnel, the changes, and then adding Jalen Phillips, Michael Carter adds obviously a big help there. But I think for this matchup, what we've seen between these two teams with the current regimes, I'm going to go with the Eagles.
What I really think plays to the advantage of Green Bay this week is that I think their coaching staff is good enough to make the adjustment with, as you said, their best receiver going down, their tight end. Excuse me. And that said, I mean, Philly lies outside of the top 15 against the pass of plays of 50-plus yards. And with a young receiver and the having to shift away from the tight end position, which, as we know, tight ends aren't the fastest guys on the field, excuse me, I just think this is going to be a good shift for them. I think you're going to see, that's my hot take, I don't have many, I think Matthew Golden's really going to have a good game against this Philly defense, despite Jalen Phillips showing up in town. So just my hot take. I feel pretty good about it, Tim. If you need some encouragement this week.
Good. I hope you're right. All right, I need that. Thanks, man. Thanks.
Hey, the Dallas fans both picked Packers. So
hey,
there you go. Thanks.
What a surprise! Well, let me put a serious face on this for a moment. We've all said the Green Bay Packers. We joke about 27. 2-7 or whatever. We joke about that, but the reality is, stop, Josh. The reality is, if Green Bay is going to take that step forward, if they really are a Super Bowl contender, if this is their year, they have to beat at home on a cold November night a team like the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. So, yeah, this is a big game for you.
Is that another part of the riddle? Is the 27 season they beat the defending Super Bowl champions?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Maybe. That's
maybe
the puzzle.
Maybe.
This rabbit hole is getting deeper and deeper.
Tim did mention in the past the success of LaFleur in primetime. This is another primetime game. We got the best version offensively of the Packers all in primetime so far this season. So, like you're mentioning, if Matthew Golden's good to go and everything's good to go health-wise, then maybe we get a big-time offensive game from this.
I think that this is a Christian Watson game. I think the mismatch there. We've watched them get, like Dave mentioned, they've been burned on 50-plus yard plays, and I think that Christian Watson's going to take the top off. We see Reed Blankenship struggling. That's why they're getting a Michael Carter to move people around. Cooper DeJean been struggling a little bit, moving him around as well, which I don't know why. They won a Super Bowl with him playing nickel, I believe. But I don't know. They need to figure it out in the defense for the Eagles. I think Christian Watson could exploit that. Jordan Love, great quarterback. They all had a rough game last week, and I just don't think that happens again. They're too well coached. They're too good. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see. I hope you're right. It's crazy, guys. As we're going through all these games, I'm looking at the standings, and it's crazy that there are a bunch of these really good teams that are not going to make the playoffs. I know
Yeah,
we're
the
only
Chiefs.
halfway through the season, but like the Chiefs right now are not in playoff position. Isn't that wild? Like
Yeah.
that's crazy. Like I think we all think the Chiefs are going to make the playoffs, but you go. I mean, look at the NFC West. You've got, as we record right now after Week 9. Seattle 6-2, the Rams 6-2, 49ers 6-3. Like that's just three teams out of. I mean, the NFC North: Packers 5-2, Lions 5-3, Bears 5-3. I mean, there's some very good teams that are not going to make the playoffs this year, and it's just crazy. Yeah.
So here's some wild knowledge. I looked it up, guys. Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers both in their season defeated defending Super Bowl champions during their Super Bowl winning season. But wait,
They beat the Eagles Super Bowl.
But wait,
let's go.
It's impossible for them to
playoff?
beat the Eagles because they're in the same division, right?
Conference.
They can't beat them in the Super Bowl. They have to beat them to get to the Super Bowl. But that's exactly what Brett Favre did against the Super Bowl champion Dallas Cowboys. And it looks like that's exactly what Aaron Rodgers did as well.
He beat the Giants.
Wait, because he beat the defending Super Bowl champion New Orleans Saints. See, you can't, you're with me. So
we got to keep going.
You have to beat, 2-7, baby. This is a big year for y'all. Yeah, this thing keeps getting great. Yeah. Like this is like super football lore right here.
So when they beat the Eagles, just take a line of credit out and walk on over and bet on the Packers.
Put it on money line.
Not financial advice.
We do not give financial advice on this podcast.
No, we do not.
No. So that is it. Week 10, guys. We have we're narrowing down. I've said this many times, but let me say it one more time for the people in the back. Fantasy football players, the Bengals, the Cowboys, the Titans, and the Chiefs are off. My team, for example, is a triage because more than half of my team, all my fantasy teams. No. I'm saying my team is apparently made up of Cowboys and Chiefs or something because I had Pollard and anyway. Sit those guys. Do good work like my sons made me do today by benching all these people that have no week. It is so terrible. It's
going to be a low-scoring week in fantasy. We got 3 bottom defenses taking a bye week.
Yeah.
Well, here's the good news. Both of my backup quarterbacks, when I sat Dak down, were Sam Darnold and Danny Dimes. Not bad. Not bad.
Not a bad fallback.
No, not at all.
Not bad.
A lot
of something.
Yeah. I have some fantasy talk if y'all want to do that for a second.
Yeah, give it to me.
Yeah. So one of the screaming pickups, I mentioned him earlier, and this is a trust me, bro. It's not really stat based because he hasn't done anything yet. But Devin Neal, running back for the Saints, he's on majority of wires. Let me look it up so I can not lie to you. Right now, he is available in 97% of Yahoo leagues. So he's on your wire right now. And he's probably going to take over the backfield with Kamara being as bad as he has been this year, like we talked about. Taysom Hill led their team in rushing last week with 30 yards. Taysom Hill's not their lead running back. Devin Neal has a crack at it, like we said. So pick him up, especially now with the trade deadline being here and the season getting ready for playoff mode. If you need a prayer stash at running back, Devin Neal, just pick him up. He's available.
Devin Neal.
All
right, y'all. Well, this is good. This is. I think I forget what Adam Schefter said a couple weeks ago that he thought that the over-under, this was like a month ago, the over-under on significant trades would be over 12. Then he came back on the air. ESPN has said it's closer to 19. That was his number. I'm curious what we actually had in terms of these type of deals. We could talk about that offline, but interesting nonetheless. It was over 20. So the NFL is getting interesting, guys. The only sad thing is with the trade deadline over, it means we are clearly deep into the season now, which is always a sad time to think about. So, but hey, it is what it is. The NFL season is rocking on. So that's it. Week 9 in the books. Week 10 is going to happen before you know it. So we will jump back on and talk about all of the action next week on Guys Without Helmets. You guys, thanks again. Talk to you soon.